Hey, how's it going, guys? Wanted to do a short little, hopefully short anyway, short little tutorial on rendering uh, passes out in Zbrush. My buddy Keo was uh, uh, was wondering how to do that, so I thought I'd put together a small little tutorial to kind of go through that process that I've learned from some really good instructors like Andrew Baker and Brian Wanya. So I want to try to impart some of that knowledge I've gained and try to put together this little tutorial and to kind of help me as well as spread that knowledge around. So yeah, so let's just jump right into it. I've been working on this guy past couple days or so. Um, Nothing special. He's still kind of pretty rough out there, he's all separated out or whatever. Nothing too fancy. Playing around with some fiber mesh, whatnot. But the cool thing about this process is that you can take it at any point, and you can even take your non-colored, your non-poly painted renders out and take those into Photoshop and do some black and white passes, and those help a lot. Early on, you can free yourself from ZBrush a little bit because sometimes you get caught up in what you're doing and sculpting detail. That it's nice to go into Photoshop and think about things in a different way and maybe get some more design ideas out. So first things I'm going to come in and do is come here to the light tab and then just dock it over to the right over here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is come into the render and dock that as well. So one thing that is pretty cool, like let's say once you have them in kind of like the pose that you want to render out. And for this guy, I was thinking, something maybe like this. I think could be really cool. Is if you go over to the document tab, there's this Z app link properties little window, and like let's say you have your character, in the position that you want him, and you don't want to move them around. So if you click on this custom transform, it'll save kind of the camera position, which is really cool. So like if I come in here and turn them around or whatever, and then I go back into the document and click that once, it'll snap back to that. So it's a cool kind of a thing to have, so you don't lose, if you accidentally nudge your dude and you're like, shit, I already rendered a couple passes, how do I get it back? You're never going to get it exactly right. So it's a cool thing to know, to have these custom views here, and if you need to clear it, you can just hit clear all and then clear all the views, and then you can save some new ones. Okay, so before I do that, I'm gonna kind of increase the document size just a little bit in the height, and just so I get a little more resolution. So I'm gonna go to resize, yes, and then control N to drop the document, and then drag him back in, and then hit edit up in the top left. So I'm going to zoom out just to see how much I need to fill the space now. You know what? I think I need a slightly thinner. I don't need it to be so wide, so I'm going to come in and take down the width just a little bit and resize him. Yeah, yes. Control N again. Click and drag to drop him back in, and then hit T or edit to drop him and make him editable again. I think that's kind of cool. So Or maybe not. Maybe I need that extra width because otherwise I'm not getting that hand kind of where I want it. So let's just do that again. Let's just increase the width back up and resize. Cool. Cool. So let's zoom out and see how much we need to fill. Yeah, I'm thinking something like that. It's pretty cool. And I think I'm just gonna quickly kind of rotate these eyeballs here. So I'm gonna mask out one and then hit rotate. Kind of rotate them a little bit this way. Maybe not. Good old transpose. Cool. Right there. And I'm going to move it a little bit back into place. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not really going for complete perfection here, but just a little, eyeball. And then I'm going to do the same to the other eye here. Rotate it a little bit, just so we get some of that. Just to give a more interesting kind of eye line going. Yeah, it's feeling a little bit better, I think. Cool. So I'm going to go back into my draw mode, and I'm going to fix up his eyelid just real quick, hopefully. And one cool thing to do, if you haven't set it, is setting up your hotkeys for your like most used brushes to be numbers, like on your keyboard. So for me, I have 1 set to move because I use move all the time, and then 2 clay buildup, 3 my Damien standard, 4 my orb crack brush, which is amazing, 5 is my inflate, and then 7 snake hook, and those are like my most used brushes. So having them at the ready always, like I can quickly go between the two. I don't even have to open up the brush menu or play with any of that. So I treat my Zbrush like a first person shooter, having my brushes always at the ready. So that's looking pretty cool to me. Not perfect. I just kind of want to get a rendering out just to kind of see where I can eventually take this guy, So let's get him kind of into a position I want him at, maybe somewhere around here, and come into document, and I'm going to save this guy right here because I think that's looking pretty cool. All right, so now time to let's get some passes out. I'm going to do some passes without the hair for now, because I can always just paint that in Photoshop. And I go back to my custom view because I accidentally hit this guy over here. So what I'm going to do is play around with this light source and get something. I'm going to turn this deep shadow off as well because I don't want it to be too dark. So I'm going to play around with something until it looks roughly where I want. So I'll come up here and do a BPR pass, and it should go pretty quick. I haven't edited any of the shadow settings or anything like that, so I'm kind of digging what I got here. I like what's going on. Ooh, fantastic! Zbrush crashes on me. Give me a sec. Let me Oh, no, it didn't. Okay, it came back. It looks like it's just being very weird. Or maybe it did. Damn. I don't think it likes, I don't think Camtasia is playing too well with my Zbrush right now. Because, yeah, it's not liking this at all. Well, it's back. It didn't crash, but, yeah, that's odd. Yeah, so if you look at the shadow pass over here, I'm really liking kind of seeing those shadows kind of run along the fingers. I think that's a neat effect, as well as I'm getting kind of the details, you know, to pop kind of where I want them, and that shadow under the cheekbone. And so what I'm going to do is, before this crashes again, I'm just going to save the project file out in case it crashes, and then I just need to reload it real quick. So I'm just going to save it to the desktop. Goblin Dude 01. Cool. So I got that going. I'm going to do so I have the light kind of roughly where I want him. I'm going to go in here to the PPR shadow and blur the shadow a little bit and increase the angle, and that's just going to kind of soften the shadow a little bit. And then to get a more precise looking shadow, I'm going to increase the raise just a little bit. The more you increase it, the longer the render time is going to be. So there's a little trade-off, but even if you turn it up a little bit, it's still going to be a pretty quick render. So for my base pass, it should be fine. And I personally like the skin shade 4, as do other people, but feel free to play around with different materials, you know, for your base pass. You know, sometimes some of these matte caps can give you a cool a base pass. Like that's actually looking pretty cool, so I might use that later on. But for now, I'm gonna do skin shade 4, and I'm gonna do one up here, export with no shadows or anything like that. So I'm gonna make a new folder, call it Goblin Renders here, and I'm just gonna call this base color 01. So I'm gonna do a BPR real quick. Let that go. So yeah, it's already taking a little bit longer. And please excuse my bearded dragon there in the back, kind of munching on some leafy greens. She likes those. Yeah, I apologize, it's taking a little bit, but hopefully it won't take too long. I think my computer's running a little bit slow with Camtasia going. So I'm just gonna pause it real quick while this finishes rendering. Cool, and we're back. Oh, and I lost it, but that's okay. So here we go. So we've noticed now in the shadow, it's a little bit softer. It's kind of hard to see in this small little window, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to save out these passes. So here's my depth pass, here's a shadow pass, and a mask, because that'll be useful. And one more thing, I'm going to turn off shadows and then do ambient occlusion. And I'm not really going to mess with the settings too much. I might turn the strength up a little bit. And turn the blur down just a bit. And I'm going to do another BPR real quick, just so I can get an ambient occlusion pass. So there we go. So now I have ambient occlusion pass. I'm going to save that out. So that's pretty much all you need for your BPR passes. But then if you want to add more detail, we can now start messing around with some of these materials in here, which is a lot of fun to do, and I encourage you guys to play around and see what you get. Those are the base passes. So now we're going to need some additional lighting passes. Like maybe I'm going to need a rim light, and then my speculars as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my poly paint information on all these guys here. Why did it not turn off on that guy? Paint. Huh. That's odd. Not sure why it's not turning off on these guys here. Very, very odd. Okay. Well, for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to ignore that guy for now. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. After pulling my hair out for a couple minutes, I found out I was playing around earlier with some keyshot stuff and getting textures out, and I had forgotten that there was a texture map applied. So in here, the texture was on. So anytime I went into the subtool and tried to turn off the poly paint, it wouldn't go away because there was already a texture map applied. So turned it off in that texture, in this texture map here, and so now I'm back to just a grayscale model. So there's a good point right now that I have moved this guy around, and luckily I saved out that view. So there we go. It just snaps him right back. So now what I'm going to do is render out a couple specular highlight shots. So both these basic material work really well for that. So I'm going to go to basic material here, and it just captures that detail kind of nice and crisply. So, but what I'm going to do is switch the color to black. There we go. So you see only, and this is going to go as like a light layer or a screen layer in Photoshop. So what I'm going to do is come up here, hit export, and call this spec 01, and then I'm going to go here to basic material 2, and this is going to capture a little bit more of that specular here. And, export that out, call it spec 02. So those are a couple good options for getting the spec out. I have some more here that are just matte caps that work pretty well, but now I have to switch it back to white. Kind of liking that. That's looking pretty cool. I'm going to export. And you don't need to use all of these. I just like to kind of have a lot to kind of play around with. So spec 03, and let's do center spec, and that's going to really kind of blow out those specular highlights. Export, and spec 04, So really quickly, you have a lot of stuff to play with already. This reflected map is good. I'm going to do a real quick modifier and turn the spec down on this guy because we already have those passes, so we don't really need that. We just kind of want that reflection information. So once again, export this guy, call it reflect 01. So I'm going to go back into the skin shade and actually go to this flat and document. Actually, turn back on the poly paint. Turn the poly paint back on. There we go. The eyeballs. So just so I have like a flat color to mess around with later on down the line in case I need it. So there we go. I'm going to take this guy, document, export, flat color 01. And alright, let's go back to preview and then turn these guys back off. I don't need the color. So in my teeth, I'll go here to texture map, turn it off. There we go. Go back to my eyeballs here and turn texture off. There we go. And I'm going to use this guy instead because texture off. There we go. And poly paint off on this guy. So now what I'm going to do is a couple lighting passes. I already have a couple of these matte caps that I like a lot for some of my rim lighting and whatnot. So I'll show you just kind of that. So right away we get those nice nice highlights and rim light right there. So I'm going to export that guy out as rim rim 01. Do another one, rim 02. And then this top light is pretty cool too. Document, export, rim 03. But I forget where I found these online. So if you don't have these, I can show you another way to get your highlights, whatever light source you want, if you want to have a little more control than these. So I'm going to go back to the basic material, and I'm going to turn off this light here and go into light cap and then add a new light. And I believe, yeah, here we go. So if I change the color on the basic material back down to this black over here, so now I have this new light here in light cap, and you can kind of barely see kind of what it's doing. So what I'm going to do is kind of, maybe make it more of a rim light and increase the strength. So there we go. So you can kind of see what that's doing there. And you can play around with wherever you want to, get different effects and play around, with the aperture, make those like nice little crispy speculars, or have more of a fall off to your light. And so I think this is looking pretty good. So let's do document, export, and I'm going to do another rim 04. So now we have a lot of stuff to play with in here. One last thing you can do, I'm going to delete this light back out, turn this one back on, go back into here. One last thing that's kind of cool to do is go into this flatten here, go back to our subtools. I'm going to go to masking, mask by cavity, and then do the same for my other subtools as well, like my teeth. Oops. Oops. Oh, it looks like I can only do one at a time. But yeah, since I have it in separate passes, but yeah, if your mesh is all combined into one piece, you can do this mask by cavity, and then this works really well. I'm just gonna kind of show you export cavity 01. So I think that's all the passes I'm gonna do for this guy. I should just keep this simple, but yeah, feel free to play around and with these matte caps and get different things out that you may want to play around with in Photoshop. So now that I have all those guys exported out, I'm going to come into here and import those all in. And you might be thinking, oh god, I have all these passes, I'm going to have to open them one by one. And for the longest time I didn't know about this, but you can go into scripts, load files into stacks. Some of you may know this, but I just recently kind of found out about this through Andrew Baker, and when he showed us this, my mind was kind of blown. So it was a nice thing to figure out or be taught. So we can go to browse. And let's browse to the desktop where I saved these guys out. Go to my Goblin renders, and you won't be able to do all your BPR ones because they're a different bitrate. But anything you exported out just from that document window, you should be able to load into here. So do that again. So I got all these guys here. And I'm going to open. So now I got those, and if I hit OK, it's going to churn through that, and there we go. So now we have those all in one Photoshop file, kind of laid out. And the only thing you need to do is bring these in manually, which isn't too bad. So just Control A, Control C, Control V. So that's my shadow pass. Control A, Control C for my AO pass. Get this out of the way. Get this guy out of the way. Control A, Control C. Oops. Wrong guy. Where'd you go? Here we go. And drop my mask layer in. And my depth pass. Drop it in. Alright, so I can kind of minimize these guys, get them out of the way. So now we got all these layers in here. What I like to do is I like to select all my lighting passes and group them and just call them lights, just to keep myself organized. And I stay the most organized right at the beginning, and then once I start kind of painting in things later on, it can get pretty messy. But but that's okay. However you want to work. So right at the beginning, I just kind of move my base color down, move the flat color down as well. I kind of keep the reflection pass floating. I move my mask all the way to the bottom to always have it, and my depth usually kind of stays towards the top. So now I'm just gonna kind of minimize these guys, put my AO there as well. My shadow pass stays there too, and I have a leftover speck. So I'm going to drop him into my lights folder. So I'm going to minimize these guys just so I have, so there's my base color. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this background here from all my layers, just so I have a clean background to work with. So delete that guy, delete these guys here. Go through each one and delete my depth guy here. So I got all these rim lights. I'm probably not going to use them all, but just so you can kind of see what's happening here, I'm going to turn these guys off. So here we go. If I turn on this rim light and switch this over to screen, you can kind of see we're getting some of that lighting information. Lighten's another good one to try, depending on the look you're going for. You know, it's always cool to mess around with these. You know, you get different effects that you play around with. So for now, I'm going to keep this guy on lighten. I think I'm liking what that's doing to the model. But first, let's turn on this this shadow pass and change it to multiply. So now we have, you know, we can see our directional light going right there, and that's looking pretty cool. Next thing I usually do is just fill it with a background color. Sometimes I just do gray, like a dark gray, and then fill that in. And then what I'll do is maybe play with some gradients and just kind of gradient this in. Okay, go in here. There we go. Select my color. I'm going to do like a darker color for this guy. Just kind of play with a little background here. Might not be what I go with in the end, but just something. And maybe switch to like a radial one. Change this color to maybe like a lighter color, and then just kind of, oops, just to pop him off a little bit from the background. That might be too much. That might be too white. That's good enough for now. I can always deal with it later. Filter. I'm just going to blur it a little bit. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Blur this guy. There you go. So that's looking kind of cool. So now that we got our shadow layer in there, it's looking pretty neat to me. But I'm gonna come in and play around with a little layer mask and maybe take down the opacity just a little bit so it's not so dark, and kind of mask this guy with like a soft round airbrush with some pen pressure, no jitter. That seems good. And then I'm going to just come in and paint with black and just kind of soften these shadows just a little bit. And it can be just to your preference. Might not be a whole lot. But you see, getting rid of that there. But I think I'm gonna bring that back. I think that's cool. So yeah, so there's your shadow pass, and then do the same with my ambient occlusion. Multiply it on there. Maybe play with the levels a little bit, kind of darken them. But this is just to kind of show you just what you need to layer and how you need to layer your passes, just so you can get a render out. So now the fun part, for me at least, I really like messing with these lighting passes here. So I'm just going to take these on, not multiply, lighten screen, and I think screen's looking better on that one, and I'm going to do the same and just kind of mask out in case I want to bring it back, mask out areas I don't want, just to kind of tone down some of these lights so they're not super overpowering, like he doesn't need this guy here. Turn the opacity up. Oh, and I'm actually remembering a pass that I need to do in Zbrush real quick. So let me do that real quick. Let's go back to preview and let me clear the mask out on this guy. Clear that out, and I'm going to go here to my skin here and change the color to like a red. This is going to be my SSS pass, and just document export. And that's the nice thing, is like if you remember, oh, let me try a new pass for something, you can just quickly go back to ZBrush, save out your pass, and then go back into here, open it up, and then drop it in. So I'm gonna delete out that background, delete, and turn them off for now. So yeah, so the process is going to be the same. I'm just going to go through each of these lighting passes, and just overlay them. And this might be a little too much, but you can always come in, tone it down however much you want, or not even use it. But so I'm just going to go in and let's turn on this spec, so now we can get some more detail on our mesh. And this is all obviously going to be kind of impacted by how much detail you sculpted, and what those highlights pick up. So since I didn't really focus too much on the shoulder area, it's pretty pretty smooth and pretty CG looking right now, but I'm not too worried about it overall. I just kind of wanted to do a quick render pass and kind of see where I'm going with this guy. So yeah, so you notice, this is getting pretty out of control right now, so I'm just gonna turn down the opacity a little bit on this guy and continue playing around with like the masking out stuff and toning down certain areas, that are in shadow and don't really need all those highlights. So I'm going to take the speck out of the eyes. I'm just going to paint it in later. I don't think it's a big deal. It's pretty. So most of this is just to kind of get you started and going on stuff. It's looking pretty cool. Yeah, and it's all, a lot of it is just kind of being subtle about it. You don't need a whole lot. So I'm just going to come in and take some of these down. Move these guys out of the way. Maybe you're not getting the look you want. There we go. Screen. You can always play with levels and how shiny you want it. So I'm just going to blow this out a little bit just to have a little bit to work with, and then kind of continue on, kind of tone it back. Doesn't need to be so shiny. Turn down the opacity a little bit. So I'm just gonna keep on going. Hopefully not take too long on this guy, but just to kind of give you an idea of where I'm going with this. But yeah, it's all about just kind of playing with these layers and getting something you like, and then toning it back, or lowering the opacity on these guys. And then yeah, all of this stuff can stay in shadow. Don't need all this over here. Tone that back. So at this point, it just becomes kind of personal preference thing, where you want, how you want your guy to look and whatnot. So I'm just gonna do the same for all of these passes here until I end up with something I like. And you can always play with colors you want. Maybe you want like a cool light, or you want like a warm light. It's just whatever you want. Just play around. That's stuff I love to do. Just kind of play around until I find something cool that I'm having fun with, and that sells the character in in a cool way. This gives me ideas, you know, going forward. I might go with that cool light here. Turn down the saturation a little bit. I think that's looking kind of cool. Oops. Can always play with the levels. How much you want to have that pop out. I kind of like that, you know, it's helping his silhouette, you know, popping out from the background. So that's a little bit strong. Maybe I might like it a little bit more. So. Make it a bit sharper with some levels. I think that's looking kind of cool. Maybe play with. Yeah. Come on, keyboard shortcuts. Control. That's not what I want. Control U brings up the hue saturation slider. Tone that a little bit. Maybe turn the saturation down. Doesn't need to be super obvious. You know. So yeah. So you see these passes, you know, kind of start bringing stuff together, and you know, in the end, you know, you can always get rid of what you don't want. You can always, you know, turn certain things off. But so I think I'm gonna come in and tone this guy down. He doesn't need these highlights right here. I think that's too much, a little bit of overkill. I think this rim light might be too much. I'm not going to bother with it. So yeah, so it just depends on what you want and kind of what makes sense for the piece and what looks cool to you. So yeah, this is where I spend kind of most of my time, you know, playing around with these light layers for a little bit. Oh yeah, so now for this SSS pass, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this guy here, and give me 1 second. Okay, I apologize about that. Had a phone call to take. So what I'm going to do for this SSS pass here is, so I'm going to select this guy here, and then I'm going to apply the layer mask, and then so I selected the wrong thing, but I'm going to invert that layer mask. So now whenever I paint in white over here, is gonna bring that up. And since my mask oh wait, let me get rid of this guy. Let me do that. So there we go. Select that guy and apply a layer mask. There we go. That's what I wanted. So now anytime I brush in white in the layer mask, it's going to bring in that, you know, that nice subsurface kind of look to the guy. And I might play with the blending mode here until you get, you know, that look you want. Just play around with that guy. Sometimes overlay works nicely. Sometimes even just on normal kind of looks cool. So I'm just gonna brush it in here. Maybe on this thumb a little bit, you know, anywhere where it's where the light's, you know, kind of passing through. You can see that. Hands is a good spot. Also helps add a little bit of depth overall. I think this is cool. And I can always just bring this guy down, and if I want, you know, play with the saturation of it. You know, if you want it more saturated and more lightness, you know, getting something you want. So yeah, playing around with the layers, you know, I mean, look at that. That's already looking kind of cool. Even just changing the color, you know, you get a different look. But I'm just gonna keep it on that standard red, and see if I can. Get something I like out of this guy. Normal looks good to me. Maybe play with the levels. Oops. Yeah, really blow that out. Oop, too much. Yeah, that's looking cool. Just tone it down maybe a little bit. And maybe just don't want his eyes glowing. So paint that out. Over here. So that's how I would use that SSS pass here. Just, you know, back and forth, painting between, you know, bringing it in and, you know, bringing it out, just to get that look. There we go. Just painting with the wrong color. Yeah, just subtly bringing in some of that color where you want it. Going a little crazy on the ear, so I'm just going to tone that back a little bit. Yeah, and then you can play around with where you want them layered up. Sometimes it looks better on the top of the stack, sometimes it looks better on the bottom. Just depends. So it kind of looks a little crazy all over right now, but have faith in yourself. You know, there's always that point you're like, oh my god, what am I doing with my life? You know, but as long as you just keep working at it and don't get too discouraged and just keep having fun with it, you know, the piece will start coming together. So I'm going to tone back some of these highlights here. I think it's too strong. Too strong. Same with some of these guys. Let's whoops. A bit too much, so I'm gonna tone these guys back. I'm not too worried about kind of this shoulder area. I'm gonna probably put it in some shadow and whatnot. Yeah, I might want to come in and duplicate that AO. Just tone it down a little bit, just to get a bit more dark in there. Another thing I like to do is, now that I have all those lightings passes on top, duplicate the shadow pass and bring it up kind of higher in the stack, just to reinforce that shadow color again. Or I should say, just reinforce the shadow in general and colorize it a little bit. Just real light, low on the saturation, but tone it to a blue or something. Bring it down a little bit. And then with the depth pass is pretty cool. You can kind of overlay it, and you'll see it'll kind of start to bring out these areas in highlight, and sometimes, you know, inverting it will get you different effects. My computer doesn't like when I do that for some reason. But overlay or soft light, play around with those effects, and just gonna tone that guy down a little bit. Play with the levels. So, been kind of rambling on about different passes, and you've been just seeing me paint stuff. Flat color is cool. You can, you know, overlay it, and then you'll get different looks. Maybe you can mess with the color balance of the guy. It's always cool to do, you know. Whoops, not what I wanted. Just on this guy. Adjustments, color balance. So I always forget it's Control V. So you can. So once you mess with that, you know, get a look you want. Shadows maybe more towards the blue. So that's looking kind of cool to me. Maybe a bit too strong. Just tone that down. So I don't know why it does that. You can always, you know, do the same here. And it's just kind of messing around, you know, with what you got, and you can find some cool effects, cool looks. That's a little too dark. That's looking kind of cool to me, so I'm just gonna tone that back a little bit. And you can always play with your different adjustment layers. It's gonna give you interesting effects. I think he's fine on that overlay. I'm going to do is I'm going to move these ambient occlusions up to the top. And none of this is any hard fast rule. It's just kind of me going through and finding what I like and what I don't like. And you might have your own personal preferences. Maybe you think the lighting's a bit too much, so you can always tone it back. But yeah, once you're at this point, you know, kind of sky's the limit sort of thing on what you want to do. One pass that I haven't messed around with is this reflect pass, and it's a cool pass to kind of make him look like he's kind of sitting in an environment. Yeah, so you can turn it to like a screen mode, and you see, you know, he's getting those reflections. So I'll do the same thing. You know, I'll make a mask, and I'll just you know, paint out areas that I think are too strong. Oops. So generally I tend to keep the reflections more like Fresnel reflections, and keep them anything, you know, as the surface, you know, rolls away from us, it'll have more reflections than the surface directly facing us. So we'll just kind of start to tone this back quite a bit. So that's all pretty strong right there. Just gonna tone that. Lower his opacity a little bit. So it's all really subtle for the most part, but I think it all helps kind of add to the overall image in the end, depending on what you want. And it all depends on just how much time you want to spend on these things. So I think some of these highlights might be a little bit too much. So yeah, so tracking some of this stuff down can be kind of a pain, but so yeah, so you see kind of where we almost started from, and then like once you start to add, see like that spec's not doing too much for me, so I'm just gonna get rid of him because I don't really think he's doing too much. Just keep playing around. Yeah, that the depth pass is blowing things out a little bit too much, so I'm just going to turn the opacity down here a little bit. So I'm going to take this cavity and multiply it. Yeah, so you see I'm getting some of that detail in there. I'm just going to kind of blur it a little bit in certain areas, just so it's not so not so strong. Yeah, see, so it works a little bit areas and better in these areas here than it does in kind of these areas where I didn't kind of bother with too much detail. And then you can so I'm gonna maybe play with the color for this guy. It's a little too saturated, but I just kind of want to see what I'm doing. But so just continuing. And one thing I like to do sometimes is window and then new window down here. So that creates a new window that I'll make really thumbnailish just to kind of see how it's working over here, and I'll just put that somewhere off to the side, and that way, you know, I can kind of reference, you know, what I'm doing as I'm working, and you know, kind of seeing where this guy is at. And another cool thing that that Andrew Baker showed us is if to kind of see where our values are at. What I'm going to do is Control Shift Alt E at the top of the stack, and that's going to take everything under it and flatten it and combine it. And then I'm going to come up to here to filter. Where is it? Where are you? Filter gallery. I forgot where it's at. Where is posterize? Oh, it's excuse me one second. I'm trying to find posterize, and sometimes I forget where things are at. Boop 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 doop. There it is. Brain fart for a second. So if we go to posterize, and we can kind of see, you know, even on our little thumbnail here, like our highest points of interest are here. Maybe we're losing a little bit of the hand here in the background, and it might be a little too detailed here. But I think overall, you know, it's kind of working pretty well for me. So so for right now, I'm gonna kind of say this is looking pretty cool overall. It's not perfect or anything. I'm not really feeling the background right now, but one thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to drop in a photo I took and use that kind of as a background. So I'm gonna Control C and then just drop this guy in. Kind of have him sitting. Oops. And I'm not going to use it just like this, of course, but I think there's some cool things going on. That's kind of neat. Filter, I'm gonna blur it. Nice little Gaussian blur. It's kind of cool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna maybe pick a maybe like this color right here. Go to the top of my stack and do like a solid color. Hit OK, and then maybe put this on a screen layer and turn the opacity down. Light might work. Just to kind of and that's not really working for me. Yeah, that background's not working for me too well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of just paint in kind of what I want. We'll colorize. And then I'm just going to take a texture here. Just something, give it a little noise. Blur it a little bit. So I'm losing that edge a little bit. So this tutorial's running a little bit long, but that's okay. Hopefully it's not too boring. Oops. Adjust a little bit. Cramping up. Oh god. So yeah, sometimes you might have trouble, finding the right image or whatever. Might just need to to layer like another rock pass, you know, and just play around with. That looks kind of cool. Filter, blur the sky. That's kind of cool. So yeah, I feel like I'm losing him a little bit. So maybe if I either turn the rim light on, that might help, but that might be too much. Well, let's run with this for a little bit. Tone him down here. Everywhere I don't need him. And it's good to you know, take a break from what you're doing, because I'm already having a hard time, you know, kind of seeing the end result here, but it's getting there. So, but that's the whole point, just kind of having fun with it and kind of seeing where things take you. And oops, wrong thing. So I use this kind of solid color pass as so the shadows don't get too dark. Just play around until you find something you like. The warmer colors kind of look cool too. You know, sometimes you go a little overboard, but always just tone it back just a little bit. So I think this color is not working out too well for me right now. So yeah, now that you're at this point, you can pretty much, you know, just paint in kind of whatever you want. So So what I might do, tilt this back a little bit more. Another cool thing you can do, come here, excuse me, come here, photo filter is kind of cool. Just play around with these guys a little bit. Depending on the look you want to go for. So I think right now the thing that's kind of bothering me the most is the background. So I'm gonna go to my brush presets and maybe find something painterly. This over here. I'm gonna drop in a new layer. Kind of take this guy. Kind of brush in some stuff. Doesn't have to be perfect or anything. Kind of like the painterly look, at least at first anyway. So, apologize for not talking, but I'm just trying to figure out where I want to go with this guy. You know, this is the point where you can do a lot of different things and you know, go different places. Go back to my tone it down. So here we go. I'm gonna paint his eyeball here. Just gonna grab a. You don't really need all that much, which is kind of cool. I'm just gonna. Pop in a highlight there. Pop in a highlight there. Turn down my opacity and maybe just kind of soften that a little bit. And then I'm going to paint in just a little bit of shadow. Set that eyeball in there. Kind of paint in where I want. Maybe give him a more pronounced pupil, you know? Really make him look at us. I'm gonna go sharper for that guy. Yeah, that's feeling cool. Yeah, and you can always just play with grabbing textures and overlaying them. I don't really like to too much. Maybe a little bit out of laziness because I don't really feel like overlaying textures at the moment. But yeah, you can overlay textures. You know, get yourself a little more detail, like some wrinkles. Yeah, whatever you want to do. It's a pretty open process. Yeah, those eyes are feeling a little bit better. So what I'm gonna do, yeah, something about that background. I'm not really feeling too much, but I'm not gonna worry about it still. What I am gonna do, I had this image that he's gonna be just gonna draw like a sphere thingy in here. A little glowy ball sort of thing. Maybe make it match this. Yeah, I think that's cool. Maybe a little color overlay, possibly. No, maybe it looks good black. Maybe not. Maybe that's not working too well. But yeah, once you get it to this point, I mean, it's kind of all up to you what you really want to do with it. I'm gonna leave it here for now. It's all up to you on what you want to paint in, add in texture-wise. One thing I like to do. Let's flatten this guy out, and then I'm going to separate out the background. So now I have him on his own separate layer, and what I'm going to do is dupe him out. I'm going to come here to my filter gallery, and I like paint jobs. Is kind of cool. You can play around with different settings. Kind of soften things out a little bit. So yeah, I kind of like what that's doing, so I'm going to do the same thing. It's come in and mask stuff where I want, his eyes to be kind of sharp. Alright, Sorry, this video is running a little bit long, but I think I'm just kind of messing around at this point now. I think let's see where else we can take this guy at this point. You know, it's a lot of just kind of post-processing sort of effects that you want to do. Like we can flatten him out a little bit. Oops. Yeah, I don't think I like that. Ooh, there we go. That's what I wanted. Pew, 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 pew. Messing around. Trying to make like a little orb thingy. So now what I might do, copy this. Actually, let's copy this guy. Oops. Make a new layer. I'm gonna paste him. And what I'm gonna do, I've never tried this before, but it's all about experimenting. Let's do a little radial blur on this guy. Maybe too much. Not exactly what I wanted. Let me. Spherize, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, alright. Yeah, that's kind of what I want. Cool. So I'm going to scale this guy down here. flip it. Oops. Oops. Wrong way. Kind of want this to be a reflection. I mean, it might be easier to just do a reflection pass in Zbrush instead of just trying to paint it in, but enough might work. This needs to kind of sort of look like it. Actually kind of looked good on darken. Yeah, I think this is working out fairly well overall. I'm going to I hate when my brush does that. Kind of softly. Oops. Need my soft brush here. Okay. There we go. Just kind of fade this guy out a little bit. Let's maybe. Ooh, that's kind of neat. Play around with some additional things here. all personal preference at this point. Sorry for dragging this on, but I don't know, maybe it might be useful to someone to kind of see the process here. You know, taking that old layer that I had done previously and using that as an adjustment layer. Kind of digging that. This guy. Let's see if we can. I'm gonna brush in some of this color here onto where I think it'd be. Now I'm just playing around, maybe. Because obviously, he's controlling this little orb guy here. But how can we imply that somehow, And I'm going to take the smudge tool and see if I can there we go, rasterize that guy down, and now we can let's do a little color balance on this guy. And I'm going to do gradient. Like a really bright kind of yellowish orange. Put it at the top here. I'm going to scale this up a bit. So that layer effects, that overlay layer, starts to kind of bleed into him, and duplicate it, scale it down so we get a nice hot spot there. Maybe not. Let's try to do that spherize again, see what that does. Nope. Filter. Oops, wrong thing. Let's do normal. I'm going to erase some of this out. Maybe a bit too much. But I think he's starting to overall come together, and this is becoming a 2-hour long video. Getting close to it. Hopefully it hasn't been too boring for you guys. I'm going to just try to finish this guy off here. Get rid of these guys here. Here we go. Yeah, now I'm just messing around. Maybe that looks kind of silly, but I'm liking it for now. Whatever. Let's combine these guys here. What I'm gonna do is dupe this guy out, and I'm gonna blur. Oops. Color blur. And motion blur. A little bit too much. Just a little bit. And mask. Kind of bring him back into focus a little bit here. And I'm going to just take this color right here and kind of and then I'm going to do another solid color layer. I'm going to do like a gray filter, noise. Just add the noise, maybe like 7% or so. And then I think the scale might be too small, so just kind of scale it up a little bit. Screen or lighten works sometimes. Depends on what you want. I'm going to take it down a little bit. Really subtle. Oops. Maybe play with the levels a bit. This is all just post-processing stuff at this point. And I'm going to lens correction. Maybe just add a little bit of that. Ooh, and this is the first time I saved in 2 hours. Don't do that. That's bad. So I think that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna let that save. Yeah, and I mean you can go on forever with this stuff until you get something you like. I'm gonna do one without that, maybe without that ball. So, well, I'm gonna keep working on this. Hope that kind of helps. I know that this ran like 2 hours long, but hopefully helps you out in some way. Getting some render passes out from Zbrush and then comping them together in Photoshop. Yeah, feel free to hit me up if you need any help with anything. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'm gonna try to get better at this and do some more of these, and hopefully condense them down a little bit. Thanks, guys.